Okay, it started recording. So, I hope it is recording. So last class we covered the 14th sloka of chapter 3. So you want to recite it aloud?
Annad bhavanti bhutani parjanya anasambhava
bhavati parjanyo yagna karma samudbhavah.
Good. So if you have noticed, you are improving. So the first sloka, I think you took how many minutes?
45.
45 minutes to 1 hour. And how about for this sloka?
Like 15 minutes.
Yeah, 15 minutes.
Less.
Are you sure it's 15 minutes or even less than that?
Yeah, like 11.
Yeah. See, it's so that's the importance of learning. The more you learn, the easier it becomes. Right? Similarly, the meanings also, you should be fully aware of the meaning. So what is the meaning of Parjanya?
Rain.
Yeah, Parjanya means rain.
Water.
Yeah, Parjanya means rain. The other words, I think they're quite straightforward, right? Annam, these are all from Indian language.
Yeah, Annam.
Okay, so we did not talk about this in detail last class, right? So
What about the meaning?
Yeah, the meaning, right? So let us. Oh yeah, what is the meaning of this sloka?
All living things rely on grains. Grains are produced from rain. Rain is given by yajna or sacrifice, and yajna is a form of karma or action.
Yeah. So the root of everything is yajna, or karma rather. And the other thing to note from this sloka is that you can please the god by sacrifices. Sacrifices are very important. Yajna basically is sacrifice. So sacrifices are very important. Um, you can do it mentally also, right? Like last class we talked about it, right? We can sacrifice mentally also, like
Our favorite things.
yeah, that is one way to sacrifice. Other ways to offer everything to God, whatever you get to God, and take it as a leftover from God. So you're basically sacrificing whatever you get to the God, and then whatever you're taking from there, you should think of it as a leftover. So essentially, you're sacrificing whatever you get to God, and whatever you are taking to yourself is actually a leftover from the God. So that concept is very important.
And you said that it's not, the next sloka says that it's not actually karma that's the root of everything, but karma actually comes from the Vedas, which is
Right.
actually jnana.
Right. So they're all tied together. The karma, the Veda, the jnana, the bhakti, they're all one and the same. One comes from the other. So as we progress through the slokas, you will realize more of these things, right? So the essence of the sloka is that action, you cannot relinquish action. Action is very important. So what was the question that you asked earlier?
So karma yoga is action, right? So if you do any action, even doing bad stuff like stealing is also an action.
Yeah, so that's a very good question. So karma can be any action, you're right. It can be stealing.
Yeah.
It can be stealing. It can be doing bad things also.
That's how it affects your lifetime.
Yeah. Then why? What is stopping you from doing that? I mean, God is saying that action is the essence. So why can't people do bad actions, bad things?
Because all actions are karma, but God said that the essence is karma yoga.
And
Yeah.
yoga
It
is
means good.
Yeah, yoga. So you cannot separate yoga from karma in this sloka. So when God is saying karma, he is actually referring to the karma yoga, not any action. And karma yoga means unition, right? So you stay united with the God. So the mind, the body, the soul, and the God are united in the yoga. So when you are united with the God, you cannot do anything wrong. Why? Because see, when you are stealing itself, your mind and body are not together. First time you steal, your mind and body are not together. Your mind says that is bad, don't do it. Some people stop there, they listen to the mind, and the matter ends there. But some people are really very foolish or very foolhardy. They reject the suggestion from the mind, and they do something else with the body, right? So that means the mind and body are not united there itself. And if we are talking about uniting the mind, body, soul, and the God. So when all these are united, you cannot do anything bad.
in your mind, think about something else, like something bad, until
You cannot. That's what I'm saying. When you are united in the true yoga, you cannot think bad. You cannot do bad. Nothing bad can happen.
But won't it be enough if just your mind, soul, and God are connected? Because the body isn't really yours, it's Bhudevi's.
Body is basically a tool. We'll look at it in the next sloka. I think in the next sloka, it makes it very clear that our body is basically a tool. It is just like your car. It is just like your, what else? What are the other things that you use? It is just like your laptop. So it is just a tool that you use. And the tool has to, how do you feel if your laptop does not listen to you? Or how do you feel if your car doesn't listen to you?
frustrated.
Yeah, frustrated, right? If your car doesn't listen.
I feel frustrated with my computer and it doesn't work.
Exactly. So you get frustrated. Same thing with the soul. The soul gets frustrated. Similarly, the God gets frustrated also. That's why, because you're now learning Bhagavad Gita, you can understand all this. But other children who don't know about Bhagavad Gita, they will not understand these concepts. That's why elders tell them. What do they tell them? God will punish you if you do something bad.
And in Western culture, it's Santa.
Yeah.
There's a song about if you do something wrong, then Santa will come to punish you.
Yeah. So, you have to be, karma yoga means you have to be united with the God all the time. And in Sanskrit, the word for these verses is called mantra, right? Mantra. Mantra means, man means what?
Mind.
Mind. Tra means rescue. So mantra means the rescuer of mind. So
mantra is a very common word, even my
in English also, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they call it mantra.
Yeah. So mantra is a word, and it is now in English also. But essentially, the word means that it's a rescuer of your mind. So it's actually a mental force. and that comes from thought or feeling, right? The power of mind comes from thought or feeling. So it is very important. Your thoughts and your feelings are very, very important. That is the reason. You should keep your thought and mind purified all the time. You always think good things. The thoughts are very important, right? Although action is at the root, the actions are driven by thoughts most of the time. So that is the reason why thoughts are very important. And thoughts come from the mind. And to keep the mind purified, you have mantras.
Our Prajna teacher used to say, you should think good because what you think, you have to say, and what you say, you have to do.
Yeah.
So it all starts at thoughts, and if your thoughts are bad, then you'll say bad and you'll do bad.
Yes, that's right. So thoughts are very important. So that is the reason why anything you get, let it be food, let it be your grades, let it be anything. First, mentally offer it to God, and mentally think that whatever you are taking back is left over from the God. That concept is very, very important. And last class, you asked me what was the question about Bharata? Why is it called Mahabharata, right? Was that the question? Yes, last class?
No, but I think it's in a question.
Bharata is, why is it called Bharata? Something like that.
Bharat is India, right?
Yeah, I think that was the question. You said Bharat is India. So is that the reason why it's called Mahabharata? So Bharat comes from even the place, the name of the place, India, comes from a great ruler called Bharata. So this is the Mahabharata family tree. There is a small link to Ramayana also. Can you identify the link to Ramayana? Okay. So let us start from the beginning. So, sorry?
Rama's brother.
Yeah, Bharata is Rama's brother, but that Bharata is different from this Bharata.
It says Kausalya next to Kuru.
Yeah, but Kausalya is different from Ramayana's Kausalya.
Ramapada. What's Ramapada or Romapada?
They're all names, basically. So can you, if you go down a level from Kausalya, Kausalya, you know, is whose wife? Huh? Who is Rama's father?
Oh, Dasharatha.
Yeah, so Kausalya is Rama's? Kausalya Supraja Rama. So what does it mean? Kausalya Supraja Rama means what?
It's Rama's mother. Kausalya is Rama's mother.
Right.
I know you said that Kausalya was a different Kausalya.
That's what I'm saying. So this Kausalya's husband is Puru.
Oh. Who's Puru?
So he is the son of Pururava. Pururava is a great ruler. He married, he had sons. No, they are rulers, kings. They are kings. So he married Urvasi. Urvasi is who is Urvasi? Do you know?
Apsara.
Isn't that a song about it?
Yeah, Ramba, Urvasi, Trilottama, Menaka. These are all in the God's world. They are Apsaras. They are called Apsaras. So Pururava actually married Urvasi and had a child called Ayush. And Ayush had a son called Nahusha. Then Nahusha's son is Yayati. And Yayati's sons are Yadu, Churvasu, Turvasu, Druhya, and Puru. So 4 sons. Now Yadu, can you guess who is the originator of Yadu? Or rather, uh, uh, what tribe or what dynasty did Yadu start?
Rama's dynasty?
No,
Sun dynasty?
no. Yadu, Yadava. Did you ever hear about Yadava?
Isn't that like Krishna's?
Yeah,
Because there's
Krishna.
like a song like Yadava Madhu.
Sudana. So yeah, Krishna is from Yadava dynasty, and Yadava dynasty is Yadu. Is the originator of Yadava dynasty is Yadu.
So the names are based on the dynasties?
Yeah.
Even
Yeah, Raghu was the dynasty for Raghu Vamsha.
Yeah, Raghukula,
Yeah, that's
Raghuvamsha.
Rama.
Yeah, Rama. Because
his name is Raghava.
yeah, Raghava. Because he is from the dynasty of Raghu. Raghu was a ruler, and he is the ancestor of Rama. So
Yeah.
like, Yadu is the ancestor of Krishna. So Yadu is actually a king. But today, Yadavas, because we shouldn't say that, Yadavas is a caste today. It's called a caste, and that caste belongs to cowherds. So people
Oh, like
who,
Krishna.
yeah, yeah. Krishna is actually a king born in the dynasty of Yadu. So he took on, so that's why his dynasty is called Yadava. And because Krishna also did cowherding, the current generation of people, they just call themselves as Yadavas. Originally, Yadavas meant kings. It's a dynasty in itself. But today's world, Yadavas have become cowherds. Because Krishna was doing cowherding.
But then they're taking Krishna not as an amazing king, but a cowherd, right?
Yeah, they take pride in it because the God himself was a cowherd. So they want to take pride in that. So that's why they call themselves Yadavas. But Yadavas originally are kings, really powerful king. So Yadu was the originator of Yadavas. Then Yadu's son is Vidarbha. Then Vidarbha's son is Krita. Krita had 2 sons, Andaka and Vreni. And Andaka son is Ahuka. Vrani's son is Surasena. Now Ahuka's son is Ugrasena and Devaka or something.
Like Devaki?
No. He's a king. He is a man. So blue is all men and green is women. So Devaka's daughter is Devaki. Devaka's daughter is Devaki, and Devaki's son is Krishna. Now, Devaki's husband is Vasudeva.
Yeah.
Surasena had 2 children. One is Vasudeva and the other is Kunti. Vasudeva is the husband of Devaki, and their child is Krishna, Lord Krishna. And Vasudeva's sister is Kunti, and you know who Kunti is, right?
Yeah,
Arjuna's mom. So Krishna and Arjuna are basically first cousins.
So where are the Kauravas?
Yeah, I'm coming there. I'm getting there. So this is one tree. This is the tree of Yadu. So Vasudeva had children from 2 ladies. Like he had 2 wives. One is Devaki and the other is Rohini. So from Devaki he had Krishna, and from Rohini he had Balarama and Subhadra. And who is Subhadra? Do you remember?
Oh, Krishna's sister.
Krishna's sister and
She's counted as one of the Kauravas?
No, that was
No, she's Arjuna's wife.
Aditi is telling. Yeah. What is it, Aditi?
Arjuna's wife.
Exactly. See, Aditi knows so much.
But I thought Arjuna's wife was Draupadi. All 5 of them had Draupadi.
Yeah, they have 2 wives, 3 wives. They can have, yeah. So Subhadra and Balarama and Subhadra are Krishna's siblings, right? And Subhadra married Arjuna. So that way also they're, yeah. Now, let us go to the other king, Puru. So Puru's son is Dushyanta. There's a great story about Dushyanta and Shakuntala.
Hey, Shakuntala.
Yeah.
Isn't she the one who
Yeah, loses the ring.
loses the ring in the water?
Right,
And
exactly.
then Dushyanta
Right.
forgets her.
Oh,
Yeah, we did a play on that.
story. I read that story. I actually read that story.
We watched
Right.
the dance. We did a dance on
Oh yeah,
There's a
I remember.
performance. Two actors.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was reading that story online.
Vishwamitra.
Yeah. So Dushyanta and Shakuntala, they marry, and Shakuntala also has a different kind of story. She is the daughter of Vishwamitra and Menaka. Who is Menaka? I just said.
Apsara?
Right. Menaka is an Apsara like Urvasi, Ramba, Trilottama.
Tilotara.
He is a Apsara. And who is Vishwamitra?
I've read his name. He wrote like some kind of.
There are many stories about Vishwamitra.
I've
And
heard.
he is from the Ramayana. He is from Ramayana time. So there's a link to Ramayana also here.
Yeah.
Wait, who is Vishwamitra and
Oh
Rama?
yeah, I remember that.
Vishwamitra,
Guru?
yeah, he's the guru.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's a guru.
Yeah, he's actually a king. He's actually a king, but he wanted to become
When he wanted to be like,
a sage.
he actually used to be a king.
Yeah, he
And
wanted, but he wanted to
he did
become
something to Rama.
right.
How do you want to become a king?
He wanted because
Like
there's
Buddha.
no always right from the times immemorial, learning and becoming a sage and those kind of things were much better than becoming a ruler, being a ruler or king.
Yeah.
Always, I mean, we saw in Bhagavad Gita also, right? Karma originates from Veda. So the learning is always at the top. So that's the reason why Vishwamitra tried desperately to become Brahmarshi. Brahmarshi is like
Brahman.
yeah, Brahman, who is a Rishi. He tried his best, but he could not because he is born as a king. I mean, it's a completely different story. We will not go there. But so Vishwamitra does a penance. To disturb his penance, Menaka comes down from the heaven, and just to disturb him from the
Why?
penance. Because Indra is always afraid of people who do penance, because he thinks that whoever is doing penance will take over his kingdom. So he sends Menaka to disturb Vishwamitra. So Vishwamitra and Menaka's daughter is Shakuntala. And
We've heard before.
yeah, you already know the story of Dushyanta and Shakuntala.
Yeah.
Dushyanta and Shakuntala's son is Bharata.
Oh, that is the Bharata you're talking about.
Right. So Mahabharata, the country India, they all derive the name from this great king called Bharata,
Wow.
who is the son of Dushyanta and Shakuntala.
Shakuntala.
So he marries, his son is Ajamidha. And Ajamidha has two sons, Nila and
Raksha.
Raksha.
Raksha Bandhan.
No, Raksha means protector.
Yeah.
So Raksha's son is Kuru.
Guru.
Who is the originator of
Guru.
right Kauravas. He is just like Yadu is the originator of Yadavas. Kuru is the originator of Kauravas.
Then where's Pandya?
Pandavas are also Kauravas. They belong to the Kaurava king dynasty. But they are five. They are born to Pandu, so they are separately called as Pandavas. whereas the ruler of the real inherited ruler of the dynasty, I mean the real person who inherited the dynasty is Dhritarashtra. So he got to keep the name Kaurava.
That's very
Yeah,
sad and ironic because everybody else in the kingdom are all considered Kuru now, right? Because they live in that kingdom.
Yeah, true.
If Dhritarashtra wasn't there, he would have been the lead Kaurava. They're called Pandavas. They're not Kauravas. It's kind of ironic.
Yeah. That's how it was during those days. There was a good reason, but we will not go into those reasons. But so Kuru, Bharata's grandson is Kuru, and Kauravas are from him. So Neela's tree has Drupada, and Drupada's daughter Draupadi.
Shikandi can take two forms.
Shikandi is Draupadi's brother, sister. He is actually.
She or he has two forms.
Yeah. So there's a big story about this also. We'll not go into that. You see, each place there is a lot of story. If you read Amar Chitrakatha,
this story is also in Amar.
Yeah. So this story of Bhojas ruled our India till even recently also. So Kunti Bhoja is the son of Bruhya. So there are many stories about each one of these. For every branch,
story of Shikandi.
Yeah, there is a story about Shikandi also. Shikandi does a lot of penance in the past life, and there's a lot of good story about that. Draupadi.
But wasn't Draupadi considered Krishna's sister as well? Sister-in-law or something?
Sister. Because Arjuna is his cousin. Right. So Draupadi becomes sister.
From this map, it looks like Krishna isn't like Krishna and Rama. First of all, it looks like they're related in like long distances, but still technically related.
But Vishwamitra is a sage. Remember, sages lived for long time. So that may be the reason we are seeing Vishwamitra here. But Rama may be many generations before Dushyanta and Shakuntala.
Even before Purava and Uravasi?
Yeah, even before them. Yeah.
Because that was my next question. If Rama is much younger than, like at the time, Vishwamitra was almost 2 generations older than
many
Rama.
Yeah.
So then that would make Rama very close to Krishna. But they were born in like different yugas.
Yeah. Can you come a little closer so that you are heard? Come here. Okay. So that is the tree so far. Now let us look at the Kuru tree, Kaurava's tree. So Kuru's sons are Jarasandha and Jahnu. So Jarasandha's daughter married Kamsa. Kamsa is the uncle of Krishna, right?
So there's another way to do it.
So Kuru's son is Jahnu, and his son is Pratibha. Pratibha's son is Shantanu, and Bahlika. So this we don't have much. There's not much contribution from this side, but Shantanu's side there's a lot of contribution. There are nice stories about Shantanu. You should read from our.
I know some of them.
Yeah.
Hey, so isn't Gandhari and Shakuni Dhritarashtra's wife, and then
brother-in-law?
Brother-in-law.
Right. So yeah, let us go get there. So Shantanu marries Ganga, and both of their 8th son is Bhishma. Do you know the story of the seven sons? Why don't we list the seven sons?
Because Ganga had to throw for his
Right.
seven of their firstborn into the river to get them away from the curse.
No, Aditi just answered. Aditi just answered, and that answer is right. So Ganga throws away the seven sons into the river as soon as they are born.
Wait, wasn't there like a story on like the seven sons, like go fishing or something?
No.
Or different-
Seven sons, as soon as they are born, Ganga throws them into the river.
Wait,
Why?
to get them out of the curse.
Yeah, it's
Oh.
about a curse. See, you should read all these stories. They are very interesting stories.
Wow.
I read a lot of them.
So for eighth son, Bhishma, she was about to throw the eighth son also into the river. Then Shantanu stops her. She says, "Why are you doing this? They're born out of love, and you're throwing that."
Oh yeah, and then she gets mad and leaves.
Right.
I read this.
So
I
then,
remember. Yeah, she only marries Shantanu, saying that he should not ask me any questions.
right, exactly.
And he asks her a question, so she tells him the answer and leave.
That's right. So that's why Bhishma remains on the earth, whereas the seven sons go back to their form.
Wait, but she was putting them in there because they had a curse.
Yes,
But then, if there was a curse, that's why he put them in there, so that they wouldn't have to suffer the curse.
exactly.
Bhishma didn't suffer anything.
Bhishma was also one of the 8 Gandharvas. So these 7 sons are basically Gandharvas.
Right, but how come he didn't?
I did suffer something.
So he does a bigger mistake. This 8th Gandharva does a bigger mistake. That is why he remains on the earth for a longer time. Much longer time.
Oh.
That's a big story. We will not cover all that now. I just wanted to clarify your doubt. Why is it called Bharata, Mahabharata, and why is the country called Bharata? So Shantanu, so through him, Ganga and Shantanu have a child, Bhishma. And after Ganga goes away, Shantanu marries Satyavati. There is another story for this also.
Vedavyasa.
So Satyavati and Shantanu have two sons, Vichitra Virya and Chitrangada. Right? Now, Vichitra Virya has 3 wives, Amba, Ambalika, and Ambika.
Wow. Are they sisters?
Why is Amba not shown here? Oh, Amba becomes Shikandi.
What's Shikandi?
Shikandi is the
takes 2 forms. Male and
previous slide. You had Shikandi here.
Yeah.
So
yeah, right there.
Oh.
Son of Kubala.
yeah, Amba becomes Shikandi. So
Yes.
Ambika and Ambalika marry Vichitra Virya. But Vichitra Virya dies young. He doesn't have children and he dies. So then Satyavati, what she does, she has a son through a great sage called Parashara. Parasharatmagam Vande Sukatatam Taponinam.
She asked a boon from, I think, she asked a boon from Parashara, and then as soon as Satyavati gave birth to Vedavyasa, he immediately came up to a grown-up form right after he was born.
Yeah, so Vedavyasa is the son of Parashara. Parasharatmajam means son of Parashara. Vedavyasa. So, so because Vichitra Virya dies early, Vedavyasa, through his magical powers, he has powers, right?
Yeah.
Through his powers, he gets sons from Ambika and Ambalika. Yeah, Dhritarashtra is the son of Ambika, and Ambalika's son is Pandu.
Also, they're not actually.
Yeah.
They're not, I mean, they have the same father in the sense. Their biological father is
Yeah.
Vedavyasa.
Also,
But-
it's like drama.
Yeah.
Wait, but then that doesn't make any sense. If they're different mothers, how? Oh, the oldest.
Yeah. And then the third, there's another story. This lady is actually a,
Actually made of either one of those two, Ambika or Ambalika.
exact,
Is traditionally made of Ambika or Ambalika.
right.
That's where I'm confused.
Yeah, she is a maid. And through the maid, Vidura is born. Vidura is very intelligent person. So the rest of the story you already know, right?
Yeah.
So Pandu marries Kunti and Madri. He has two wives.
Mhm.
But
What happened to Madri?
so Pandu has a curse.
Oh, yeah.
Pandu
Yeah,
has a
Pandu
curse.
has a curse from a deer, and then
Yeah,
That's
good.
interesting.
See, Aditi knows almost all the stories in Mahabharata. So that's why Amar Chitrakatha has a lot of these stories. I used to read them a lot. And
oh, I like Amma Chitakata. I read lots of stories from them.
yeah, and my
Yeah.
then
Oh, Karna.
yeah, and then my grandfather also used to tell a lot of stories. So Pandu has a curse that if he has children, he will die immediately.
Yeah.
So that is the reason why Kunti prays to gods. Through sun god, she gets Karna.
No, actually, the curse is. I think the curse is whenever Pandu meets with either of his
Right. But I
wives,
didn't want
Kunti and Madri, then he will die.
right, exactly.
Not when he has sons.
Right. I
Yeah,
didn't
but
want to say that because you're all kids, right?
Yeah.
I didn't want to say all those things. But
is,
yeah, that is
isn't
the,
there something else that
I don't know, but I just know it.
and then he tries to
that is yes.
shoot it and
That
then
is why that is the curse.
Yeah.
Curse. That is why you get the curse.
That's not a curse from a deer.
part in the
No
movie.
wonder.
Right.
Just
Skip that part in the Ramayana movie.
Yeah. So now you see how they're all related. So again, in a brief, Kuru is the ancestor of Kauravas. So his grandson is Shantanu. Shantanu marries Ganga. Um, then Bhishma is born through Ganga. And then Shantanu's other wife, Satyavati. He has a son, Vichitravirya, who dies young. So that's the reason why his wives get sons through another son of Satyavati, Vyasa. So all that happens, right? So Bhima and Draupadi's son is Srutasena. Yudhishthira and Draupadi's son is Prativindya.
Oh yeah, and you told us about Arjuna
yeah.
about how
Each of the 5 sons of Pandu get a son from Draupadi.
Yeah,
All the 5 sons of Draupadi.
yeah,
Draupadi has 5 sons.
yeah. So there are very good stories about Babruvahana, Airavan, and Abhimanyu, Prutakirti, Parikshit, Jaya.
Yeah, Abhimanyu.
Stories. If you should certainly try to look up online for their stories or read some comics and things like that. But they're really very good stories. Parikshit, for instance, there's a very nice story about Parikshit. So the whole family, the whole dynasty is really very interesting. There are a lot of interesting stories and a lot to learn from them.
wait, so Arjuna had 4 wives?
Yeah, Arjuna had Draupadi, Subhadra, where is that? Arjuna had, yeah, 4 wives, yes.
Wait, but which
Draupadi, Subhadra, Ulupi, and Chitrangada.
Yeah.
That's the story about Abhimanyu, right?
Abhimanyu is
The one who got trapped.
nephew of Krishna. That is why he's, and then he is the one who gets trapped.
Yeah, that one's
Subhadra is Krishna's sister. So
Right.
Abhimanyu has to be Krishna's nephew.
Right, Abhimanyu is
How
Krishna.
come Krishna wasn't there when it happened?
Yeah,
Oh wait, he was. He helped Arjuna, didn't he?
right. He was Arjuna's charioteer, right? That's the whole source of Bhagavad Gita.
And also he hid the sun so that Arjuna wouldn't jump into the fire once
Right.
Abhimanyu died.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So Pandu and Dhritarashtra, their father is who? Vedavyasa. Vedavyasa is like,
Yes.
he himself is Vishnu. According to Vishnu Sahasranama, Vedavyasa himself is a Vishnu. Right?
Wow, so they
He is
have
God.
lots.
So he's, yeah.
They have
So he
lots.
was, they were born not like human beings. I mean, they were born through Niyoga. It's,
Oh, like
yeah,
Neo,
without
but,
marriage. Yeah, so it's a great story actually.
Are there stories about Satanika and Shrutakarma and
Shrutakirti,
Ugrasena?
Shrutakirti, Abhimanyu,
Yeah.
Uttara, of course, Uttara is Abhimanyu's wife, but Airavan, Babru Janameja, these are all very good stories about them.
Actually, Udupi also has a story.
Yeah. Okay, so that is this. Yeah, this is a small abridged version of that to make it very clear. Shantanu, Satyavati, Chitrangada, and all that.
98 sons.
Yeah. Yeah. Dhritarashtra has Duryodhana, Dushala, Dushasana, and other 98 other sons.
Yeah.
So Karna's children are listed here. Karna has
Oh,
Supriya
Karna.
and Vishali, but these are not all that popular, these people.
Because Karna was separated.
Yeah, Duryodhana's wife is Bhanumati, and they have kids Lakshmana and Krishna's son Samba. So it's all, they're all related. Right? So this is the tree. The tree goes on and on and on and on. Okay. So that's about how Bharata and Kuru Vamsha, Pururava, all that. So isn't it very interesting?
That's very interesting.
Yeah. So let us look at the next sloka now. This is the third chapter, 16th sloka. Evam pravartitam chakram nanu vartayati hayaha adhayu indriyaramo mogham partha sajivati. So what Lord Krishna is saying is, he who does not follow the wheel, thus revolving, who is of sinful life, rejoicing in the senses, he lives in vain, O Arjuna. This also has a very great meaning. We'll uncover that meaning slowly, but it has a lot of meaning. So let us look at the words. Evam. We had Eva so many times. Eva means like this or thus. Pravartitam. Varta. Varta means what? Vartitam means what? Vartitam is actually like a cycle. It's like a cycle or a circle. But pravartitam in this case means whatever has been prescribed. Pravartitam, yeah, prescribed.
Oh, prescribed, like the doctor prescribes you a medicine.
Right. So just like a prescription is basically like what we are supposed to do. And what we are supposed to do is defined in the Vedas. So that is why the meaning is established by the Vedas. Pravartitam means established by the Vedas, or pravartitam without the context means which has been prescribed. So chakram.
Wheel.
Yeah, chakram. Chakram means wheel or cycle.
Wait, by wheel, do they mean the wheel of time that you go through that?
I will cover that. That's a very good question. I will cover that. When we talk about the meaning of the sloka and the interpretation, I will tell you that. Na means you already know. No. Anuvartayati. Anuvartayati means follow. Anu is like aiding. Vartayati means follow. Adopt. Iha means in this. But in the context, it means in this life. Iha generally means in this. Yaha means one who. Agha ayuhu means whose life is full of sins. We came across this agha in the last sloka, one of the previous slokas. Do you remember?
I kind of remember.
Agha.
My,
Right, you got it.
Anagha.
Maya anagha.
Oh, like the
Maya
location
anagha.
will be the
What is the meaning of anagha?
Pura Prokta Maya Anaga.
Right, very good. So Maya anagha means my sinless one.
Oh.
Anagha means agha means sin, anagha means sinless. Ana is the opposite of agha. So anagha means the sinless one. So Lord Krishna very affectionately addresses Arjuna as my dear anagha, my dear sinless one in
Oh,
that
that's
sloka.
nice.
Yeah. So here agha ayuhu means life, right? You know, Ayurveda, Ayu, it all means life. Ayu means life. Agha means sin, sinful life, whose life is full of sin. Indriya aramaha. Indriya aramaha means, Indriya means what?
Indra.
No. Indriya, in Indian languages, Indriya means organs. Your body limbs means Indriya. Aramaha means Aram means in Hindi it's in Indian language Aram. Yes.
Oh yeah. They, Sangdaksha
Arama.
and then Arama.
Yeah, in Indian language Arama means rest.
Yeah, they say
So
that
rest,
in Dharma.
but in actually in this context in Sanskrit, Arama means gratification. Rest is also one kind of gratification.
What
Right?
is gratification?
Gratification means pleasing yourself.
Oh, okay. Well,
So
that's not very good.
yeah, rest is basically pleasing yourself. You're relaxing. You're pleasing yourself. So that is why arama in Indian language means rest. But in Sanskrit, it means pleasing yourself, gratification.
I understand why, because resting while sleeping is considered tamasic,
Right,
and therefore this could also be in the right context.
right. Tamasic. Indriya arama means pleasing your organs. Basically, that's what it means. So
Your body.
yeah, pleasing your body.
Oh, that's what we were talking about, right? Whenever you sin, they're pleasing their body but not their mind.
Right. Mogham means uselessly. Amogha means something great, right? Mogham means useless. It's the opposite of amogha is mogha. Mogha means useless. Pardha is son of Pritha. Saha. Saha means he. Jivati means lives. So do you see how much?
Means live, like, yeah.
Yeah, lives. Jivati means lives, not lives. Yeah, Jivati. Right? So those are the words. All the words are pretty easy to. Now you're recognizing the words, right? Slowly, one by one. You recognized Agha, you recognized Arama, Partha, you already know. So a lot of words are already known to you, kind of.
Chakram.
Yeah, Chakram.
Evam. We learned Evam.
Yeah, Iha. So that's the meaning of the sloka.
Oh yeah, and Maha recognized Aga. Somewhat.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
So what does this mean? So first thing is
That's the problem.
yeah, we'll cover the wheel probably because it's almost time. We'll probably cover the wheel next time, but let us look at the meaning of the sloka itself today.
Okay.
So what God is saying is those who do not follow what I tell, what I prescribed in the Vedas, they lead a sinful life, which is worthless, which is useless, which can be trashed. That's what he is saying. So, and he's also telling that the opposite of what he prescribed is living in the senses. What are your senses? Five senses.
Vision, tasting,
Exactly.
smelling.
Yeah, the touch. So those who spend time pleasing these senses,
Good things.
yeah, not just good things.
You're no bad.
That's right. No, that's a different concept.
Like
Rejoicing means or enjoying through the senses means like eating a lot of food. What are the seven sins according to Christianity also? What are the seven deadly sins? One is, yeah, what is it called? Uh, what is lot of eating called? I forgot the word. Um, uh,
Consuming much.
gluttony. It's called gluttony.
Or gluten.
Yeah, eating a lot of food. So you're pleasing your tongue by eating a lot of food. So that is a sin. That is a deadly sin. Yeah, pleasing. Once in a while it's okay. See, obesity. See, there's something on the chat. Junk food, eating a lot of junk food, sweets, gluttony basically is one of the deadly sins. So why Christianity doesn't explain why it's a deadly sin, but our Bhagavad Gita it explains.
This sloka could easily be in the Bible. You know why? The only word you have to change is besides wheel, thus, set, revolving. They just have to say the 10 Amendments, and then it would fit perfectly.
Exactly. Yeah, you got it. You got it. Yes, you're right. Right. So the seven sins, the seven deadly sins are basically what Lord Krishna is kind of referring to here. So if you're indulging in those seven sins, or basically anything, not just the seven deadly sins, but anything that has to do with senses, the bodily senses, you are gaining happiness through your senses, then it is sinful. You should be happy because you're born to be happy, not because of anything else.
Oh, like,
so this sloka has a lot of deep meaning. Every sloka has a lot of deep meaning. We can talk for days on each sloka, actually. But in the interest of time, we talk only a little bit to give you insight into the sloka. But you should think beyond the class also, even after the class.
Apply it in our real life, like
Right.
the 7 ways to apply it.
how Bhagavad Gita is. You have to apply it to your real life.
Yeah, otherwise, see, that's the whole idea of this sloka also, right? So for instance, you go to a shop but don't know what to do there. You just look here and there, look at people, look at things, then come out. Or for that matter, you go to Disneyland and you don't know what to do there. You see people going climbing, going round and round and rides. And you just go there, you just do like this, like this. After 5 minutes, you come outside. And school, you go to school, you don't know what to do. You look at the teachers, you look at the students. What is happening here? I don't even understand all this nonsense. And then you walk out from the school. So are you serving any purpose? Are you gaining anything?
No.
The same thing with life. You have come to the world. You should understand what is expected of you. Just like when you go to Disneyland, you should understand what is expected of you, right?
Yeah.
How to behave in Disneyland. Similarly, in a shop, you should understand what is expected of you, right? That's the first thing, right? Same with the school. The first thing that you should do is to understand what is expected of you and then follow that. So we do all that for shop, Disneyland, and school, but when it comes to the big thing, the life, we don't do it. See, you are really lucky that you're trying to understand what is expected of you, but many people don't understand what is expected of them. They think that eating good food is the purpose of life, or sleeping for long hours is the purpose of life, or
Those were all
being
materialistic.
lazy, yeah, is the purpose of life. That is not the purpose of life. God is telling clearly that you should follow what is prescribed. First thing is you should know what is prescribed of you. That is the reason why you need to read Vedas. Even if you don't read Vedas, this Bhagavad Gita itself is the Panchama Veda,
Yeah.
considered as the Panchama, fifth Veda. So it's a summary of all the Vedas. So you're doing the right thing by learning Bhagavad Gita, but you should extend your thinking process beyond the class. So you should first know what is expected of you in this world.
Because if you attend Bhagavad Gita classes and don't apply it or do anything about it,
Yeah,
then it's the same thing as walking into a store or Disneyland or a school, looking around and then just walking out.
right,
School.
right. So, people and some cultures only tell uh, um, that you should not do this, you should not do that, but they don't tell you why you should not do that. They don't tell you why gluttony is bad.
Sometimes.
They don't tell you why sloth is a deadly sin, right? Sloth is laziness.
And also an animal that's a strict from the
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So those are all sinful life. That leads to sinful life. We should, on the other hand, be following what is prescribed in the Vedas, what the God really wants us to do. So
What God wants us to learn
yeah,
in the environment.
yeah, the karma yoga, the jnana yoga, the bhakti yoga, those are the yogas that we are learning. We are learning each of the 18 chapters is a yoga, right? So we are learning those yogas. So we have to be in unison with God all the time. That is the most important thing, right? So we must gain the knowledge of life through study of the Vedas. And the other thing is yajna. Yajna is basically sacrifice, performing the sacrifices that are prescribed in the Vedas. Not just the homa and that kind of religious ritual, but sacrifice in every way. Like I told you, right? Everything.
Like when doing prayer, you offer your sadness and all your feelings to the feet of God.
Exactly. So a symbolism that typically is told about Lord Venkateshwara, right? Lord Venkateshwara's hand is like this, right?
Yeah.
So it's like he's asking you to give up all your things to him. Yeah.
I meant that he's giving like bless you.
Yeah. So it's
Oh,
like,
is that why there's like one to bless you and one to
right. Yeah. So whoever is living, suppose you go to school and you don't understand what to do, you keep looking here and there, roof and all that. Is your teacher going to keep you in the class?
No, she'll take off.
No, not at all. You're
Yeah,
out of your mind.
because you are distracting the class. You have become a burden to the class, right? If somebody doesn't understand what needs to be done in the school. Same thing with the life. If you don't understand what needs to be done in this world, see all these people. Okay, where was that? See, there are so many generations ahead of them, ahead of us, thousands of years ahead of us.
Yeah.
But still, we are remembering them. Why?
Because
They did some great things. They never indulged.
that's how India became great.
Yeah. So even after thousands of years, we are remembering. On the other hand, we don't remember people who just ate a lot of food, right? Uh, Even if we remember them in the wrong way, right? Something bad, right? So people who don't know what needs to be done in the place they are a big burden. They're a burden to the nature, to the God, to their families, to their parents, to everyone. Don't you think so? So that is the reason why it is very important to do what is prescribed of us. Okay, we'll continue this sloka in the next class also, because this is a very important sloka which has a very deep meaning. So let us, because it's past 8 o'clock, let us close the session with our, any questions before we close?
About the numerals in Hinduism, I am getting kind of confused in the upside, the other turning 3 type thingy. Is that 5?
I didn't understand. Turning 3? You want
I mean, like,
Numbers are written.
beside the dash thingy, it's right next to the 1. Next to the 1. Right here, it's like the 3 turn the other side.
Right. It is 3 turn.
It's
Yeah.
like 5. I'm not. No,
It is 6.
Numeral. No, the number is 16.
Yeah, the double of 3 is 6. So
Yeah.
so that's why 3 reversed is 6.
Oh, so that's a
Wow.
Yeah.
better shape.
So it's so third chapter, 16th sloka.
Tinsmith is very, very smart.
Yeah.
Very,
So any other questions?
Very, very cool too.
Any other questions?
I'm with the numerals.
Why does Arjuna really need to know this? I mean, I think he's not really rejoicing his senses by letting Paramas win anyway. And yeah.
So why am I telling this to you?
So because we still rejoice in our, we still feel happiness in our senses. We feel happy when we eat something yummy, and we still feel happy while watching TV. We still feel happy because with all these materialistic, but Arjuna doesn't.
Arjuna is also a human being like you. He's a Nara. He's not Narayana, right?
Yeah.
So, so he also has similar kind of mentality as you, similar kind of feeling. Of course, he being born to all those great people, he has really some very good genes. So by birth, he is really better. But he still is a human being, and he still has his weaknesses. See, for example, he
every
did
Nara
not-
has a weakness.
yeah, he did not.
Not
want to
everybody
kill
is
his relative.
perfect.
Right,
Yeah.
but
So that is the biggest weakness, and that weakness can lead, just like one strength leads to other strengths, like karma leads to knowledge, jnana, knowledge leads to bhakti, bhakti leads to action again. All these things. Right? Hanuman did a lot of action, and it was all because of his bhakti, to devotion to Lord Rama, right? Rama kaja kare veko atura.
yeah, that's in the Hanuman Challenge.
Yeah, Hanuman.
Yeah,
He's always eager to do work given by Rama. And why is he eager to do it? It's because of bhakti.
Because he is very happy in being serving for Rama, because he feels very lot of joy when he does it.
Exactly.
What is it? Oh yeah.
He's a devotee to Rama.
Yeah. See, that brings about a very important point, right? See, he is happy. See, Aditi said that Hanuman is happy doing work for Rama.
He's in full content.
Yeah, he is in full content. So he is gaining happiness through bhakti yoga, karma yoga, jnana yoga.
Eternal God.
See, the second word in Hanuman Chalisa is third word, Jaya Hanumana Jnana Guna Sagar.
Oh, I
So
never
he is full of knowledge. So knowledge, he is knowledgeable, he is bhakti, and he has karma. He is full of action. They're all the same. One will lead to the other, and it goes in a circle. He is, yeah, yeah. How do you gain knowledge? By practicing, right? How do you? I told you a lot of theory in machine learning, but how do you actually learn the real machine learning? By practicing it, by writing programs. Yeah, so action. So learning should lead to action. Action should lead to devotion. Devotion should lead to knowledge. Knowledge leads to so the three go in. They're like three edges, three vertices of a triangle.
Is there like a sloka on that? Because the previous two slokas before the 16th are about karma yoga and then jnana yoga. Shouldn't this sloka be about bhakti yoga? Yeah.
No, we are continuing karma yoga. This is third chapter. The entire third chapter is karma yoga. Remember this slide we had?
This is the karma yoga chapter.
Yeah, the third chapter.
Slides, the 18th chapter.
Yeah, the third chapter is. See, the third chapter is karma yoga.
Exactly where it is. Karma yoga is the third chapter.
Yeah. So it's so all the
yoga.
Yeah, all the yogas are like in a circle. One will lead to the other. There's no difference between. So next class we'll talk about the circle itself, how powerful the concept of circle is.
Oh, my daddy taught me about clockwise and anti-clockwise today. The full cycle.
Right.
It never ends.
Yeah.
It never ends.
Yeah, it never ends. There's no end to the cycle. Yeah. Okay. So, okay, we'll end with the prayer. It's past 8 o'clock. So let us end with the regular prayer, and then we'll continue. So this is an interesting sloka, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, all the slokas are interesting, and they have lots and lots of interpretation and meaning. The more you think about it, you can spend days thinking about these slokas and talking about them. But for today, let us end with the prayer. Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amritam gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sarve jana sukhino bhavantu. Samasta sanmangalani santu.